Welcome. Today we're going to do Parshas Mattos. So the Parsha says like this: Vaydaber Shem al Moshe Leimar. The Rebbeinu Shalom told him, "Nekoim nikmas bnei Yisrael me'esa Midyanim." You should take revenge on the Midyanim. Acher Yosef el Amecha. Afterwards, then you will die. So Rashi says, "Me'esa Midyanim v'loy me'esa Moyavim." Not from the Moyavim. Why? Why not the Moyavim? Shem Moyavim nichnasu l'davar machmas yira. There was an alliance between the Moyavim and the Midyanim against Klal Yisrael. So the Moyavim only did it because they were afraid that they're going to destroy them or pillage. Shlei nemar ela al tizkar b'milchama ava Midyanim. The Midyanim got involved in something that had nothing to do with them. So therefore, you should destroy the Midyanim. But the Moyavim, they were motivated by self-defense, so then, don't destroy them. That's one pshat. Dover Acher, Rashi says, because Moav is going to result in two praises toivus, Ammon and Moav, Rusa Moaviyah, Ammon Ammonis, which is the Gemara in Bava Kama, Daf Lamed Ches. The Gemara says that Moshe Rabbeinu had a Kal V'chomer. Do you want Ma Midyanim Sheboi Lazarus Moav Amar Torah? Srois Midyanim V'kisam Oisam. Moav is a Kal V'chomer that you should destroy them. Amalei Kadosh Baruch Hu, no. Loikish al B'dait Chol B'dati. Your cheshbon is not my cheshbon. Shtei preides toivus yesh lo moitzimem. Rusa moyaviyah v'nama na'amoines. Therefore, that protects Ammon and Moav because of Rus and Nama. So Rashi has two reasons. One, because they got involved because they were afraid, and the second, because of Rus. Now, back in Pinchas, says like this. First time he says this. You should attack the Midyanim and smite them. So over there Rashi says, why? Because Rus is going to come out. So in Pinchas, Rashi only says the second time because of Rus. Why doesn't he say the first time that Moav was only concerned about self-defense? Why over here does Rashi say both tamim, and before Rashi says only one time? The first time that there's a tzivui to attack Midyan. Here, there was a tzivui, and here it was right now. Also, the Rechaim asks, Achet Yosef el Amecha. What does that have to do with Achet Yosef el Amecha? Why is Moshe's Betira connected to the Milchama of Midyan? It's masha from the pasuk that you should conduct a Milchama against Midyan, and then you'll be nifter. So apparently that there's a difference between two tzivuyim. You also find there's a difference that before, when he told them Tzores and Midyanim, he didn't say anything about Anoshim. Here he says, you should get Anoshim. Anoshim means great people, tzaddikim, Rashi says. Anoshim tzaddikim. So over here he talks about tzaddikim. Before, he doesn't talk about tzaddikim. So apparently there's a big difference between before and here. Before he's talking about a danger, that they're dangerous, they're people, they're your enemies, they want to destroy you, so you have to fight against them because they want to destroy you. Over here he's talking about something else. Over here he's talking about the Koim Nikmas means for the Kofet Shemayim. Midyan came, and both of them, and they were Machshel Klal Yisrael to serve the Baal Pa'or, to do Avodah Zarah, and turn away from the Rabbeinu Shalom. This tzivui over here was not because of a physical danger to Klal Yisrael, it's because they turned Klal Yisrael away to Avodah Zarah. So it was a P'giya and Kofet Shemayim. So therefore, before, when it's talking about the physical danger that you have from Midian and Moav. But so what are you going to say? That Moav only did it for self-defense? But people who are attacking you because of self-defense are also a physical danger. So that is not an answer. Why not Moav? Because they were trying to defend themselves. If they're your enemy, if they're afraid of you, and they're going to kill you because they're your enemy, so what? I mean, Lamaisa, they're a danger to you. But because of Rusa Moaviyah, that's why you shouldn't do Moav. Mashenkin over here, where it's talking about Kvod Shemayim, so then it's a different thing. Moav is really not out there to be Pagay and Kvod Shemayim. Moav was out there for self-defense. So therefore, it wasn't such a Pagay and Kvod Shemayim. Mashenkin Midian was coming here just to turn Klal Yisrael away from the Rebbeinu Shalom and lead them into Avodah Zarah. So over here, that is a reason. And it could be that's why over here, the Anoshim, why do you need any war? Why does it have to be only tzaddikim? So it could be over here where the war, if the purpose of this war was to be noikim for Kvod Shemayim, then maybe you need for the tzaddikim who are the madrega that they'll be loichel for Kvod Shemayim. Where you're fighting for survival, physical survival, everybody should fight. But once it's narrowed down, and this is what it is for Kvod Shemayim, then it's only Anoshim. So it could be for the same reason that the connection of Petira to have this Milchama, the Milchama to defend and be noikim for the Kvod Shemayim, could be for this Moshe was necessary. So therefore, the connection is that after you do this, then you could be nifter. Then later we don't really need this. Now later in the parsha, the Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain, they wanted to have the lands on the other side of the Yarden and Gilad, and these were very rich lands, and they had a lot of sheep, and they wanted to settle over there, and that's where they should be. So they came to Moshe Rabbeinu and they said that we don't want to go across, we want to be here. So Moshe Rabbeinu got angry at them, and he said, you're going to demoralize Klal Yisrael. So they said, I'm going to go into the whole, most of they gave them. And they said, we will make corrals for our sheep, and we'll make cities, I guess, walled cities, for our children. We're going to go ahead in the vanguard to conquer Israel, and after we conquer it, then we'll go back. So Moshe said to them, said, okay, good. You're going to come and you're going to fight, but make cities for your children and gederis l'tzonechem, and corrals for your sheep. Keep your word. So he reversed the order. They said gederis l'tzoneinu, nivne gederis l'tzoneinu, and then arm l'tapeinu, and Moshe said faket. So Rashi says, they cared more about their money than they cared about their children. First was taking care of their livestock, and then their children. This is wrong. First make cities for your children, and then worry about your livestock. So this is really a very difficult thing to understand. I mean, no matter how much people are greedy and need money, but would they put their children at risk in order to make money? I mean, how do you understand this? This is like, what kind of people are these? What did they want? They said, no, we're going to first take care of our sheep, and then we'll take care of our children. How could you do this? So I think what the pshat is like this. If you have flocks of sheep, then it's normal for the sheep to wander off, and then they're going to go other hills and other this, but they're going to scatter, and by the time you need them, they're all over the place. So Mela, you have to have a place to keep them. They shouldn't wander off. Children really don't wander off. Children stay near their parents. they don't really wander off. Sometimes a child wanders off and ends up in a forest somewhere, a field. It's a crisis, and everybody organizes search parties, go look for the child. It's not something that happens b'chol yom, that a child should wander away from its mother or its caretaker, whoever it is. Children instinctively stay close. They don't just wander off. So what was the danger to the children? Why did they need orah for the children? So the Medrash says that when they came back from the Milchama, because they found that the children they had blurias, they had long hair in the style of the pagans, because there were still some pagans around in these lands. They were not completely eradicated, and those pagans had an influence on the children, that the children ended up wearing ponytails, or I don't know what they were wearing, blurias. They had blurias. So the danger to the children was not a physical danger; it was a ruchnistic danger, that they would be susceptible to the influences of the remnants of the pagans in these areas. So the Bnei Reuven thought, ruchnias, okay, we have to take care of the ruchnias. But first we have to make sure that we have gashmias. We can support them and feed them and provide for them. That's what we have to do first. First we have to do this. Then we'll take care of the ruchnis of the children. We will. But first, the first things first, we have to establish we have a business, we have the farmers going, we have the money, we have where to house them and to feed them, and afterwards we'll get them malamdim and we'll teach them and we'll take care of the ruchnis afterwards. Moshe told him, no, it's not like that. The ruchnis of your children is more important than the gashmias of your family. The first thing you have to do is protect them. They shouldn't be susceptible to bad ruchnistic influences. That comes before. Don't worry about your sheep. You lose some sheep, you lose some sheep. The children have to be protected. Their ruchnias has to be protected. Now, there's a Gemara in Brachas. It says like this. Gemara in Brachas, Daf Ches. Gemara says like this. In the story of Bnei Gad and Reuven, they said, "Vayivoy Bnei Gad and Reuven, vayomru al Moshe ve'Elazar HaKohen, Hatoros v'Divayin v'Yazer v'Nimra v'Cheshbon v'Elala." All these Haaretz asher hika Hashem lifnei Yisrael. These are the lands. These are the cities that Hashem destroyed in front of Klal Yisrael, and they were able to conquer them. They want them. This is what they were saying. These are all places in Eivah Yarden. They want to live there. Hatoros v'Divayin. That's the first two that he mentions. So the Gemara says like this: Amar Avami, L'olam yashlim Adam Parshas imatzibur shnai mikra v'echad Targum. A person every week should do shnai mikra and echad Targum. V'afilu hatoras v'divayin. Even hatoras v'divayin, you should do shnai mikra echad Targum. Rashi says why? She'ein by Targum. Targum doesn't translate. Now, Tyson says, why don't you say Reuven v'Shimon? Targum doesn't translate Reuven v'Shimon. So we know that Hatoras v'Divayin doesn't translate it. Now really, if you look in the Targum, in the beginning, where it says Hatoras v'Divayin, Targum says, Mechalelta u'malbeshta. Mechalelta u'malbeshta. So he does translate it. So what does it mean, Hatoras v'Divayin? So he's probably referring to the end of the Parsha, where it says, "Vayivnu b'nei God as divine v'yes hatoros." So it's really, it's not hatoros v'divayin, it says the other order, but this is what he's referring to Pashtas as divine v'yes hatoros. So Targum says yos divine v'yos hatoros. He doesn't translate it. So the first time he says Mechalelta u'malbeshta, the second time he doesn't translate it. So why doesn't he translate it? And since he doesn't translate it, you should learn it anyway. Now, we spoke about this a number of times. The Targum doesn't translate a name. A name is a name. Reuven is Reuven, Shimon is Shimon. Every name is a name. But What Targum does do is, if it says Kodesh, the pasuk it says Kodesh, Targum says Rekem. Why? Because the place called Kodesh today is called Rekem. I mean, the time of Onkelos was called Rekem. The name changed. So therefore, you'll see Keseder in Targum, he will give you the current name. He won't give you the name that it says in the pasuk, because the name doesn't tell you anything. So what is Kodesh? Or who's Kodesh? You look on a current map of Eretz Yisrael, you don't see a Kodesh, but you see a Rekem. So Targum tells you that this is talking about Rekem, and in those days, in the time of the Torah, which is 1,000 years earlier, it was called Rekem, but today it's called Kodesh. Today it's called Rekem. He did the same thing with Diva and Atores. Diva Atores apparently changed the name. The name at the time was called Diva Atores V'Divain. It was Machalelton Al-Beshta. It was called Atores V'Divain, but in the course of 1,000 years, the name changed, and now it's Machalelton Al-Beshta. Why did they change the name? I don't know. Why did it change the name of Kodesh? Why did it become Rekem? Things happen over the years. Maybe somebody gave money. Who knows? But it changed. The name of the name changed. So Targum says, this is the current name. So he's informing people that. So if the name doesn't change, then he tells people in his Targum the name that was the same. If it does change, then I'll tell you the new name. But so that's why he says. But at the end of the parsha, it says Vesdiva Vesatores, and he does not translate it. So at this point, it's not called, nobody knows what Diva and Ataris is. Those places don't exist anymore. And he doesn't say Mlabeshta, so nobody knows what this is. So Targum really didn't do anything for people by, if the name is the same, so in his translation, he uses the same name. So he's really helping people understand what the pasuk is saying. But if the name is changed, and he says the old name, which is no longer used, and he just tells you and tells you the old name anyway, so what is he telling you? What have you gotten from the Targum? Nevertheless, the Gemara says that you have to say Targum, even though you get nothing from it. It's an obsolete name, which nobody knows where it is or what it is, and it doesn't tell you the current name, just tells you the old name, and that's why, nevertheless, you have to do Shnei Mikra Targum, even a Torah's V'Divain, which he doesn't translate. He doesn't tell you the current name. So why Taka at the end does he not tell you the current name? Why at the beginning does he tell you the current name? So I think like this. In the beginning they're talking about, they're saying these places were destroyed. There was Ataras of Divine were old Amori cities that were there in Nevar Yarden. Ataras of Divine. And he says they were destroyed. So he tells you that those cities that were destroyed, today they've been rebuilt. Because after they were destroyed, Klal Yisrael came and they took over the land, they rebuilt these cities. And today it's called Malbeshta, Machalalton Malbeshta. That's why he's telling you that. In the end of the Parsha, he's not talking about that these cities were old Amori cities. It says, Vayivnu b'nei God es divaim v'satores. They built new cities on the ruins of the old cities, and they called them Divain Natores. So we're telling you the story of what they did. They didn't build Mlabeshta Machalelta, they built Divan Vatores. But over the course of time, the name of these cities changed to be Machalelta Miabeshta. So over here he tells you what actually happened. They built two cities which they called Divain Natores. And as far as people knowing what it is, well, you see from the earlier place, he already told you that place today is called Machalelta Miabeshta. So it wasn't necessary for him to tell you that, to enlighten you to where those places are. Of course, we know what those places are, because we learned it in the earlier pasuk. But at this point, he's telling you what they did. They built Divan Vatoras. That's what they did. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you again next week.